campsite here, and I thought you give you a rundown of how my race went. This is my first downhill race, like real downhill race. I've done other, like I've done enduro and XC races, but first real downhill race. And I wasn't sure if we had 1 or 2 like laps. That's just because it was a local race, and there was a heck of a lot of people. I didn't know if they had enough time in the schedule to do 2. Like that makes sense that you get 2. But anyway, we get there Friday night. Practice is supposed to be from 6 until 7 or 6 until 7:30. Thunder and lightning. So people got on the chairlift and they closed the chairlift like super fast, and we waited around and I checked in and it was like 7, and I was like, they're not going to open the chairlift again. And I've never been to this park before, so we go back, we set up, we go to bed for the night, get back the next morning, and there was mandatory practice at like 10 the next morning. So I get up on the hill pretty early. It was like 10:10 by the time I get up on the hill. And there were so many people, because there was 75 people in the men's division, and there was like 13 in the women's division. There were so many people. A couple of the guys were there early, and they were letting people on early, and they got like 2 runs in. But I only got 1 run in of the racetrack. So heading into the race, had only had 1 lap in of this track. I have to run this track at race pace. And I was like, well, it's boot trail. I had hit it. It was a little rooty, a little rocky, but for the most part, it was fine. But my problem is, if race day comes, I give like 110%, a little bit too much. When in reality, if I slowed down a bit and focused a little bit more, I probably would get better results. So that's something I'm really working on. But first run down, my clutch was off. Because leading up to this event, we went camping and left the bikes out in the rain by accident, and the chain got rusty, and it was an old chain anyway, so we went and got the chain replaced, and the clutch was off from when I got the chain replaced. So go down the first time, chain fell off. I posted that video on TikTok. If you look closely, you could see the chain like slapping the ground, but the chain fell off. And then second run, I was like, we'd been waiting around on the top for a while. Like, this was, race started at 11. And then it was like 12:30 before we got to the second lap, and I was hungry, I was tired, it was freezing cold up there, like it was like super windy, and so I was definitely not completely in my game, and I had done not a great lap the first lap because my chain fell off about halfway down, and I was just kind of like cruising. I couldn't pedal at all, and there was like a few little pedally sections. Anyway, second run down, I crash. And we don't have the first crash on video, we have the second crash on video, because there was a second crash, because I broke my friggin' SPD pedal, like snapped my SPD pedal in half. Not in half, I like snapped the end off, but like snapped the metal. So I will post a picture, I'll put a picture here of the pedal, because it was wild. And so the rest of the way down, my foot kept popping out, and I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing, maybe I'm just going so hard, and I like twisted my foot weird. So my foot popped out, and I crashed again. I don't think my foot popped out, but then the second time I crashed, which we do have on video, Tyler was there. There's like 2 lines, and the first in practice, because I only get to do 1 practice one, remember, in practice, I went on the inside line, and the first run I went on the inside line. Tyler was there watching after the first lap, and he told me, he's like, the outside line's faster. So I'm debating. I'm like, do I hit the line I've never hit before, or do I stick with the inside line? And this is where my judgment isn't great on race day. I'm like, well, if the outside line's faster, I'm gonna hit the outside line. Hit the outside line at race pace, hungry, tired, not in the best mindset. Crash. Of course, it was the lamest crash in the world. So that was my race. That's my downhill race. Not the best downhill race in the world, but it was my first one. So I mean, I'm easy on myself about it. It was a fun experience, and funny enough, I dropped my chain, I crashed twice, I still didn't finish last. So I mean, I guess I'm happy about that. There's nothing, I can't ask for anything better than that. So I think it was like 13th out of 14 or 12 out of 13. I don't remember how many people were actually in my category, around there. But then the real funny story is after the race, when Tyler got to go up on the hill. I went up on the hill, I had the dog with me, because we have the dog with us right there. And there was a tennis court across from the bike park, so I was like, oh, we'll probably be able to go behind the tennis court and find a tennis ball for the dog. So we go back there, and there's this cute little stream, like, it was probably a stream, It was more like a river. It was like up to my shoulders. And our dog can swim, but he's not very good at it. And he's not good at jumping into things or like out of things. So like jumping out of water onto land, unless it's like a gradual, unless he can like walk out, he cannot get out. Same thing with like getting up in the car. Unless he has like a running start, he cannot jump up in the car because his back legs just don't, the neurons don't fire to his back legs. So he went over for a drink to lean down, and it was like a decent little like ledge, but it wasn't bad. He went to lean down to get a drink, couldn't reach it, so he was like, I'm just gonna jump in. So he jumps in, he's on the leash. I'm still holding him because I don't want him to like swim away. And he goes to get out, and he can't get out, of course, because he's close, and he's not the best swimmer in the world, so it's not like he can like turn around and swim and like jump out, and he's just like stuck. He can touch in the bottom, but he was just like trying to pull himself out with his front feet, and it wasn't working. I was like, okay, bud. And he only had his collar on, he didn't have the harness on, so me trying to pull him the leash didn't really do much. Like, I was just like strangling him. So in the process of me trying to pull out, this is after the race, had a hoodie on, had my shorts on, I fall trying to pull him out and fall into this like river right up to my neck in a hoodie. And I was just like, of course, this is the only dog in the world that this would happen to. So needless to say, I got the dog out of the river because I was in the river then. But yeah, that's the funny story of the weekend. This whole weekend has been a slight disaster. Not even this whole weekend. This day has been a disaster. So let's hope tomorrow's better. We've got the XCO races tomorrow. Both Tyler and I are doing those. So it's Monday now, and we are back home, and I thought I would give you a recap of the XCO race because it was just about as wild as the downhill race. I was really hoping, after just how many technical errors that I had during the downhill race, that the XCO race would be smoother. I really, really, really wanted it to be smoother, but it didn't end up happening. I didn't actually end up racing. I did post about it on my TikTok, kind of telling the story. If you want to go look, it's just like in text, but basically what happened was I woke up the next day, Sunday morning, pretty sore from my falls during the downhill race. My whole left side really is very bruised. So I was pretty sore. I was kind of hobbling around. So we tried to take the dog for a walk, and I was like limping. Tried to kind of push through it because I was just like, I'm going to deny the pain and then just do the XCO race, go slow. There's only one other person in my category. So I was like, I'll do it. I'll go slow and I'll like not do anything stupid. But I was limping around, and I was like, well, you know, there's less friction on the bike than there is walking. It'll be fine. And I was like really trying to push through it, but we ended up having to stop the walk. We got like half an hour away, and Tyler actually ran back to get the car to come pick me up because I was just hurting. So stretch, get ready, eat something, take some Tylenol. 10 minutes before the race is supposed to start. Get all my gear on, get on my bike and stuff, and I'm like biking over to the start line. It was like 3 minutes before like the cutoff was for us to show up to the start line. And there was like the parking lot, and then there was this like little grassy hill, and then it like dipped into a ditch, and then the trail was like there where the start was. So like tiny little grassy hill. I was in too high of a gear. I was tired, clearly not making good decisions, and hurting. Tried to go up this little grassy hill to like go over to get to the trail, and somehow I was just in too bad of a gear. New pedals on, because remember I broke my pedals in the downhill race. So brand new pedals, which they were probably a little bit too tight, the tension in the clips, and couldn't get over this little hill. Fall backwards onto the side that already was hurt, on like back onto the pavement, skinned my elbow, and I just like broke down in the parking lot. Like me trying to like hold everything together all day, just like completely broke down in the parking lot. And I was like, I'm not doing this race. And anyway, after I like composed myself, Tyler was like, you don't have to do it, you don't have to do it. And I was like, yeah, not doing it. I felt really bad. I didn't want to like quit, but I felt at that point like I was too exhausted and too hurt. It was kind of like unsafe for me to try and go do it. I would end up probably hurting myself even more. So I made the call. Never had to do that before. It was interesting, but I definitely knew in that moment. I'm glad that I crashed in the parking lot and not on the course. So that was how the XCO race went. I didn't get to do it, but I'm glad that I had that experience, because now I know, when to make the call. And I definitely was waiting too long to make the call in that situation. But yeah, I'll show you some clips of the rest of Adrenaline Fest here, and that is my story. I've got the enduro race tonight, and we'll see how that goes.